I'm here with Alan Belcher, former UFC standout, undefeated BKFC heavyweight champion, and mindset guru who contributes meditation and visualization as pillars of his success. Alan, how's it going?
It's going great, brother. Yeah, it's a good day. Good day, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Um, I love bringing you on because I love what you're doing, man. So one, you're an absolute killer, but you contribute your mindset set and everything else to that success. So from being a guy who faces adversity head on, whether it's going toe to toe with Pal Harris, knocking out the baddest guys of the world, or closing $1 million real estate deals, man, how has meditation visualization been a factor in that? And what are things you contribute to reaching your full potential?
Oh yeah. What man, we're just getting right into it. How do you reach your
Absolutely.
full how do you reach your full potential? That's a big question. So in the regard of actual visualization and meditation, I would say that you know, if you're dedicated to reaching some type of goal, you have something that you're trying to do, you're more than likely going to need to work on yourself because you're going to need to change to get there, right? So the dream and the vision that you have for yourself, you're not ready to get there right now, so you're going to have to change. So that means you're going to have to experiment with different things, do different things. And visualization, meditation is just a couple of things that have been um, very helpful for me. And when you really deep dive into it, you start to realize that meditation is more than just a part of your morning routine.
Yeah.
And it is actually, in a way, fixing yourself, healing yourself, and growing at the core level, which is from your subconscious mind, which is what you're made out of. You're made out of memories. So it's resorting that out, learning your mind, and that type of thing. As far as reaching your full potential goes, that's almost a different subject, but that's my favorite subject. And that's what I like to help people do. And that's what I've noticed in my life that I've been trying to do all along. And inside the ring and the cage in particular, what I've noticed is that fighters rarely can say that they have ever fought to their full potential. Meaning, whether they have 20 fights or 100 fights, they are you ask them that question and they're still trying to reach that full potential, or they may remember one time where they just felt so good, and they're trying to recreate that. And it boils down to the same ideas of reaching your full potential in whatever you do. It's just that fighting and martial arts practice, one-on-one competition, it just it puts such a spotlight on where you are with your mind,
Yeah.
and it puts such a spotlight on the truth and the reality of the situation, because you don't have a team to really rely on. There's a clear cut winner and a clear cut loser. And oftentimes that's what gets in the way, is the worry and the fear of looking silly, or the fear of failing and not wanting to have to have to live with yourself, in that disappointment and that type of thing. So reaching your full potential, what it really boils down to, is taking all your energy and focusing it directly at the intention you're focusing on. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have a limited amount of energy, and you need to get more of it. And if you can direct more energy towards that thing, meaning focusing towards that thing and consistently working towards that and growing, um, then you're going to have a better shot at doing that. So reaching your full potential is a journey, that you really go on, and it's not something that you can just snap into and do a couple things or whatever. You have to really go internal and learn about yourself, and continue to grow in different areas. And it's just a fun process. It's like building anything.
That's it, man. That's absolutely it. So, like, speaking of that, like a lot of top business owners, CEOs, and athletes contribute like mindset changes to the success, whether it's like life experiences, like you're saying, or even like reading books, something like Think and Grow Rich.
Mhm.
What was your experience? What was yours experience with like trying to reach your full potential? And like obviously, you didn't start off with meditating or
Yeah.
finding these avenues. What helped you? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Um, so I would say what, you know, you have everybody's kind of figured out their own path or whatever. And for me, there was some early inspiration from coaches, and one coach in particular, um, that really just had a positive mindset and kind of instilled that into me.
Yeah.
And just being an ambitious person sometimes is does a lot for you. Your spirit, so to speak, or your
Yeah.
just who you are. And sometimes it could be things that happened to you along the way that made you kind of have this hole that you're trying to fill or whatever. And for me, it really felt easy. A lot of times I can remember struggling and suffering on the inside, but it was at the end of the day, I pretty much always got what I want and was always going in the right direction and just, beating people and competing with the competing with my peers and things like that. I'm rising above them, and it's kind of easy because it's just innately in me.
Hmm.
And so I did this for years, and I hit a wall once I got to something that I couldn't really push through.
Hmm.
And what it looked like at that time is and I'll give you the time frame is kind of at the end of my first UFC career when I was in my late 20s. I was actually 29 when I had my detached retina surgery and all that. And
Yeah.
I was at a top contender place in the
Yeah.
UFC. And, you know, I hit this wall. Um, and it was all to at the time it was all about that eye surgery and whether or not I could come back. And then once I started bouncing back from it, I started getting that hunger again, and I went on a pretty good little streak and everything. And then I realized that the deep work still hadn't really been done, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So um I just, mentally, I was in a place where I knew that something had to change. And in a way, I ran from fighting. I stayed away from fighting, and I was like, I'm just going to go a different direction because I have came to a place that I can't really push through. And sometimes that's a clear sign for you to just keep going through it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man. Yeah.
And then sometimes you have to take a step back and you have to work on different things. And looking back in it, in hindsight, it was a much needed break that I needed to go into other things. And I started trying to apply my ambition and everything to making money
Yeah.
and to being a business owner and stuff. So I started trying to fill that hole. I was trying to validate myself as a man. I started filling that hole with making money, starting businesses over and over, open more gyms, multiple locations, and I started a consulting company to help other gyms. I was like, how can I stack more on top of this and get it, And
Yeah.
I really delve into the science and the skills behind business and all this, and I was really getting that thing going. And once I kind of got what I wanted there, and I proved that I was successful there, um, I realized that I was not fulfilled, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, so I went and really um, started learning more about who I was and who I wanted to be, and just kind of went on this whole path, and started to experiment with spirituality, or started to learn about spirituality and things like that, and integrate all these things in. And it's all part of my path, man. And you know, I started that probably like 4 years ago, 4 to 5 years ago. I started thinking about getting out of the business and the businesses that I was in. It
Hmm.
was just overwhelming to kind of hold that up and everything. And I wanted to get something that was more fulfilling and more whole to me.
Yeah, man.
So I took that deep dive in and totally reset myself and reinvented myself, went back into fighting, and now I can looking from a point of view where I am now in my life is I can make the choices that I want to go into the businesses that I want or whatever. I don't have any need for the validation, and I think a lot of it was just kind of becoming aware of that.
That's awesome, man. And now you come from a position where you can be that positive influence like that coach was to you, sort of thing. And it's
Mhm.
awesome. It's awesome to hear, man, because like someone like you know, like UFC under this huge run, heavyweight champion, like, and you're talking about mindset, meditation, and the journey, and like it's coming from you and having that as like the alpha perspective, and you're doing that. I think it's really helpful
Yeah.
for men in general just to be able to, like that positive energy, man. So
Yeah, yeah, brother. I mean, I have some other. I can't really point out to like one. I've had so many good mentors and business coaches and people that introduced me to different books and different things, and I've always been just kind of like open and attracted to personal development.
yeah,
And even when I was coaching business owners and working with business owners, I realized that it was really about the personal development and the mindset more than it was about the even the skills. The skills
yeah,
are important, but it's even more about the mindset because the person can have the want to or the ambition or the dream. They can even have certain skills and information, but the mindset is what holds people back. You know, so just kind of being able to break through those fears is has been huge for me, and I've seen that help a lot of other people win is just kind of understanding that we're stuck in the place that we are. We can't really break through that ceiling because of fear.
yeah. I agree, man. Like it's actually funny. Like been doing this podcast, I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of really cool people, a lot of successful people, and a lot of the one thing they all say, man, it's like the mindset shift. That's what changed their game. It was it could be anything from just reading a book. Like there's a real estate guy on. He read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That totally changed his whole mindset. We have, one with life experiences. And I have to ask, man, so like with the podcast being what it is, it's called the framework. If you had to restart today and build yourself and your wealth again, what would you do?
Um, Man, I would. It's hard. This is an interesting type of question. I think that a lot of people that once they're at a later part of their game, I'm not sure that they can really. They can give good advice for sure,
Hmm.
um, but looking back at it, the way that I think now, I believe is totally different than what I thought when I was younger, of course, but also I believe there is a time and a place for it. So I mean, there's different cheat codes and shortcuts here and there, I guess, in a way,
Yeah,
but
brother.
there's ultimately you have to go on your own path and you have to go through your own thing. So I mean, work you have to put in the work and you need that ambition and that testosterone whenever you're young,
Hmm.
so I feel like I wouldn't really change much except for I would go back and I would, if I could convince myself, or if I'm able to do it over again with this mindset, it's totally different, but I earned it is what I'm saying. And um I I would be way more open-minded, so I would just grow so much more. So if anything, if I'm legitimately working with a young person that's trying to, create the life that they want and everything, I would say, be ambitious, put in the work now, you
Hmm.
know, don't party, don't, go, like stay focused on your task, do that. But that same ego and that ambition that really that drives you and says, I am going to do it and I'm going to create this identity of myself that's a winner, it sometimes can cause you to kind of think that you know it all and not be able to adapt and learn from other people and things like that. So just a combination of open-mindedness with the consistent hard work that you got. One of the big things I always say too, when I'm thinking about the mistakes that I've made and stuff, is I always, as the years have progressed forward to where I am now, my bounce back rate is so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
So like now, if I if something goes wrong in my business or a project that I'm working on, or I get injured, which I recently got injured, and it
Sorry to
really
hear that.
slowed down my training, things like that. I bounce back so much faster mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I allow it to process, if that makes sense. Like
Yep.
sometimes there's going to be some pain and some anger or whatever, but what I've discovered is the secret to all this, man, especially just to be happy and fulfilled, is that realizing that suffering is a choice,
Yep.
and that there's pain that you have to be able to withstand some pain, but the ongoing suffering is becomes a choice. So you can't let these I won't
Small
say,
losses.
little things that bother you, whatever, fester and become something that lasts a long time, that you're going to have to really, wait until you get out of that, you know process it faster with positive thinking.
Awesome.
you know that's what I would say. And I know that's kind of a that's not the biggest, like, the detail about business or anything like that, but
No,
it's literally, it's all about putting in putting in the good work and getting better at what you're doing and consistently working, and that takes energy.
yeah, man.
And that positive energy that you put into it is going to come back to you. So anytime that you're down in the dumps or whatever, you need to get yourself out of that as fast as possible and just let it go. I mean, I don't care. I've lost everything, so to speak. What I used to think of everything that I had, meaning all the money that I saved up, it's all gone. I'm back to zero. Or all the, it's really hard to get started in real estate and things like that. And since I've done some real estate here and there, I've realized that, you know you're building things, and then you're like, oh shoot, I need to now cash out this, I need to sell this and sell this, but I built it up and I was
Yeah.
starting to get rent coming in, and then boom, you start back over.
Yeah.
You just have to realize that that is the ebb and the flow of life and success, and you'll be a lot better served if you just roll with it and you keep a positive attitude, and you have to learn that, um, what you've been told is a lie. That is not, you can't get rich fast,
No.
and um, you can't do anything worthwhile fast. It takes time to get better at things. It takes time to gain skills, and you in your learning process, it's harder than you think. And
Mm-hmm.
that is probably one of the biggest wake up calls that someone can have in their mindset. Once you realize that it's harder than you think, then it's actually easy. Okay. Because the hard part, because when you're young, you think, man, and I see it all the time. I see it in the fight game, and I see a lot of young, hungry men that have the potential to be UFC fighters and possibly UFC champions. And they're giving themselves a window of 1 to 3 years, maybe, you know what I'm saying? And they're just like, in this, if things aren't happening in 3 years, people are really starting to look at other options, and their mind starts getting pulled away from the focus to what they're trying to get. And now they're not going to get there, and they end up, now it starts going downward spiral, and now they have to go and do something else, and they start thinking about you know changing their career idea or whatever, whenever
They were just there.
you knew that you had it, you have what it takes, that intuitively. You
Mm-hmm.
have other people around you saying, yeah, of course. You might ask the coach or mentors and stuff of like, what do you think, I can really do it? Most of the time, if you already believe that you can kind of do it and you feel like you want to ask the coach if you can do it, the coach is going to almost tell every single person, like, well, yeah, you need to work on this or that. But yeah, the general idea is almost anybody can make it,
Mhm.
right? Unless you're totally in the wrong thing, right? Obviously, there's some limitations,
Yeah.
but the biggest limitation is your mind. And so the coach is going to say, yeah, you can do it. And what they're thinking is, if you keep going, if you keep getting better, you have a long ways to go, but you'll eventually get there. And
Yeah.
it's just an amount of time just barely going upward, and it just takes a longer time. So forget everything that you've heard and all the videos that you've seen online and everything, and just try to grasp the concept of taking a long time. And you say, if I can do this for a long time consistently and always just get 1% better, just a little bit, it may
Mhm.
take longer, but you're eventually going to get there.
Man, I love that because everyone's hearing from everyone, oh, quick success, you can do it. This is how you get rich. Like that, and that's the truth, man. It's a journey, man. And it's rolling with those punches and not letting it fester on you and that positive mindset. And I mean, like you're talking about the UFC, like I think it was Michael Bisping, he was a champ at what, 38? I mean, if he would have said this isn't for me, like he would have quit. He never been world champion. So like, man, I'm with you for that. Like I love the mindset. I love the visualization. Do you have any like I know you're in that space. Do you have any like content or resources that like the listeners could maybe access or
Yeah, maybe, like my social media, I'm starting to get more, I've been really busy with training and fighting, and I work with a few UFC fighters and bare knuckle fighters on their mind, and then we do a lot of meditation and visualization in that. But I'm starting to get to a point where I really want to roll out more information and just, speak on this area that I feel like I'm really just now recently learning that um, I'm a bit ahead of people in this area because been doing it
yeah.
for a while. So I would just say, my social media is I'm going to start doing more on the social. I do have a Facebook group that is free. It's called Every Day is Game Day. If you happen to be on Facebook, you can go there and join the group. And I post videos in there, and I have a few other guys that do as well. It's for men and women, and the idea of the group is full potential and performance, mental performance, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs in that group. There's lots of people from different walks of life. It just happens. My message happens to resonate with them. So there's that, and we're going to be rolling out a retreat this next year where we plan to do several of them in the mountains and the deserts, and they're a men's only initiation retreat, which is designed to um, spark a spiritual awakening, if you will, and a journey for yourself into into manhood and being the person that you want to be, and just kind of waking up, and we do that through a lot of different modalities. But one of the core principle, or the core, I would say, focus of what we're doing it with is with the martial arts and with the MMA trainings, which I have the most experience in. Um, so I know how to introduce people to experiences that they learn that they're not as tough as they thought that they were, or an experience where what I want you to experience is you being able to see and be aware of your mind telling you, starting to tell you what to do, your
Mhm.
body, if you will. Your And most people are in a state of reactive. You've heard of a reactive state before, and
Mhm.
what this really means is that you are under the influence of your own body.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's a hard concept, but that's why I want to do these initiation retreats, is because in the initiation process, you learn that you have been operating as an animal, and that there's a higher level of consciousness that is true power. And whenever you can back up from a distance and see your body, not literally an out of body experience, but metaphorically, I'm backing away and I'm able to be aware of what my body's doing, and I'm being, and part of my body is my thoughts that I'm having,
Mhm.
and thoughts are words. So whenever you're setting, or this is what Think and Grow Rich is essentially about. I heard you mention that a little bit
Yep.
ago, and that's one of the books that really kind of sparked this. It was probably 15 years ago plus, whenever I did a Lloyd Irvin seminar.
Yeah.
If those of you that know who Lloyd Irvin is, and he recommended that book, Think and Go Rich, and he kind of, talked about what it was and his own idea about it. And at that time, as he explained what it was about, it really went over my head. And
Mhm.
it took me reading that book and learning more, and then later on, I became awakened to the idea of what it actually is, which is Think and Grow Rich doesn't mean. Um, a lot of people think that it's about manifesting by thinking about something and then you get it, and that's not really the best way of looking at it. What I would say is that, to put it in a nutshell, you are having thoughts constantly. Your brain is working, and your thoughts are mental activity that's on autopilot. And if you can shut that down and be aware of those thoughts, and have a third party perspective, you can now think intelligently. You can think with wisdom. You can think, you can critically think, right? And you can start to put things in the right situation. If you imagine you're in a stressful situation, you're stressed out because money and all this, you're not going to make the best decisions.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? I can't tell you how many times I've been in stressful situations. It took me a lot of times being stressed, and then totally a lot of times I would liquidate something just to get the money for it. Whenever in the reality, I was just scared, and I could have toughed it out a little bit longer and then kept that asset and
You're
kept it
becoming
going. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, you're reactive instead of exactly, man.
Yeah, 100%. That's the essence of what that's all about, is being able to, um, you know, make the right decisions by understanding how your thought process works.
That's awesome, man. That's great. All right. I look forward to reviewing this and getting the value out. Looking forward to the content and seeing when those retreats come out, man. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, it was fun. Thank you for having me on.
No worries. Cheers.
All right, man. Talk to you later.